that was bringing to life just an awesome kit for makers to help them build 3D printers, robots, and everything, and seeing kind of their product line grow and evolve and become more sophisticated, while all along continuing to have this foundation on education and helping people make stuff. And that's something that's very important for us because Kickstarter, our whole mission is around supporting creativity and helping to celebrate creativity. And we love companies that are focused on creating tools that allow for that. So where I wanted to start tonight is just checking in a little bit on the state of Makeblock. Can you give us a little bit of an update? Like what is the current state of Makeblock?
Now we have more than 400 people, 400 employees. We're based in Shenzhen, and we're always based in Shenzhen. And several months ago, we just finished our Series B funding, more than 30 million US dollars. And now we have, in the very beginning, we started from the maker market, so produce maker kits for makers to build robots. But now we are more focused on STEAM education. So now most of our customers are schools, are students, and we also now try to enter in the consumer market.
Awesome. So, as we kind of talk in the next few minutes, I'm just going to go through some of the products. This actually here that you see was the first ever Makeblock project, which again, creating this awesome kit for makers to make things, along with some modules for that. And Jason, in terms of I know when your first project launched on Kickstarter, you were a team, I think, of 2 or 3 people. Yeah. What's the current size of the company?
Now it's more than 400 people. Yeah,
that's awesome. And I wanna dive in a little bit now to how you guys think of Kickstarter. But before that, even you just mentioned how you've recently just wrapped up Series B, where you've raised $30 million. And so it's clearly as a startup and as you're creating your business, you're looking at several different sources of funds to kind of help fuel your growth. Can you talk a little bit about how you look at these different sources of funding, and what are the different sources of funding that you look at? What are the different channels that you look at as you think about keeping cash flow and so forth?
I think Kickstarter is very useful for small companies to get their first funding from venture capital. So for us, I think in 2000, so we launched our first project in the end of 2012, and we got about 180,000 US dollars. So that's very successful for Chinese companies. Actually, we are the first Chinese companies to launch hardware project on Kickstarter. So with that number, we can attract many media coverage, and then some investors, they come to us, and so with this we can find, because before that I find a lot of ways to charge the venture capitals, to send them BP, but no response. But with only with this number, with this result, it's very easy for you to gather the angel investors. So after that, so with angel investors, it's we can grow. But after that, when we have some very new project, we still choose Kickstarter because I think this is a we already have our fans on Kickstarter, and we are not sure if the new project is right or not. So we use the community to test our new project. Yeah.
And I know I think looking at your portfolio of products and the different you definitely have released more products than you have actually brought to Kickstarter. Can you talk a little bit about as you're developing new products, how do you look at Kickstarter? How do you decide whether to launch a product on Kickstarter, or whether it's one you're just going to launch on your website or directly through your distribution channels, your other distribution channels?
So the key point is that the product should be very innovative. So it should be a totally new product, because the Kickstarter is a platform that for new things. If the product is a normal product, or it's a kind of product that you can find in many other places, we will not launch on Kickstarter. So you can see that the first Makeblock platform, and then the airblock, the neuron, and the draw robot is always the new things. So yeah, that's the rule.
Awesome, and I think I'm going to quickly, these are some of the projects. This is kind of like the second, what I call the second generation of Makeblock projects, which was still using the same kind of mechanical building blocks, but with more advanced modules, and with more advanced kind of maker modules or electronic modules. And one of the things, kind of going to the next one, I think the latest phase that I've seen kind of Makeblock take is really these more sophisticated projects. I mean, even the last 2 projects that you guys have done have actually won Red Dot Design Awards, and it seems like, as seeing the evolution of the company, can you talk, going a little bit outside of focus on Kickstarter, how has the mission of the company evolved, or has it evolved, and how do you guys see, where are you guys going now?
So the mission of our company, I think we never changed in recent years, 5 years. We never changed, and the customer may see the product change, but like our slogan is construct your dreams. Our goal is to help people to realize their ideas. We provide to lower the barrier of building things. So in the very beginning, we provided a DIY platform for makers, and then we think that makers they have many resources, they have many technology background. Actually, making things is not very hard for them. But we see many other people, many students, they also need this kind of ability. So we turned to pay more attention on the entry-level people. So you can see our latest project, the Neuron. So it's so building things with Arduino, with other electronics is very easy for makers. And many companies like Sparkfun, like Seed are doing this kind of things. But for many normal people, if they without any technology background, using technology, using sensors is very hard for them. So we just want to solve problems for them to lower the barrier of building things. So we never changed our goal in recent years.
And you mentioned earlier how one of the reasons you guys continuously come to Kickstarter is you have a community there. Can you talk a little bit about? I mean, it seems like community is a really important thing for Makeblock. It seems like that's something you guys actively continue to nurture, and that's something that on Kickstarter we see as for creators, especially repeat creators, that's a really core element of not just why they come to Kickstarter, but of the way that they run their business. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys think of community at Makeblock?
So actually our core customers change a little bit, because in the very beginning, our first project, the users are mainly makers, and then we have some products that for STEM education. Actually, it's very suitable for entry level users, or for students. And we have some users on Kickstarter. They back our project. Back all our project. So when they, for example, when they see airblock, they may say that I like your M-board, I like your other robot. Yeah, it's very glad to see you have new things. So the community is we can the community help us to, when we launch our new project, it's very easy for us to get a relatively high amount of funding in the very beginning. So we just needed to update it, to post an update on our other project, and they will see our new project and back our new project. So that's very important for us. And another thing is that many users, they will explain for us. So maybe in some of our project, other users will ask a lot of questions. But some of our fans, they know us. They know what we are doing before and now. So they know us very good, and they can explain many things for us. Yeah.
Awesome. And when you guys, you guys have run, I think, 6 projects now, or is it 6 or 7?
6 or 7, maybe.
Yeah. How do you guys measure success? Like and how do you guys, again, as your products have evolved, and you have products that have raised, I think overall you've raised around $2 million. You've had some products that have raised over 800,000, other ones that have raised 200, and everywhere in between. Like, what are the things? I suspect that you guys think about success beyond just the dollar value of the raise. Like, so how do you measure success on your campaigns? What are the indicators that you look at?
So in our first project, we will see it's very important for the numbers. But after that, like a Makeblock. So Kickstarter platform is not like several years ago. If you want to, because you have more projects. I think now it's hard for you to get a high number than several years before. So now, if you want to get a high number, you need to hire some professional company like a digital marketing, like a PR. You need to do a lot of these things, and this means you need to invest money on this. But so for a Kickstarter project, for many companies, I think for them it's only balanced. So investment and income, it's balanced. You can't earn so much money on Kickstarter, and so after that we just think that it's not very important for the numbers, because we use Kickstarter platform as a test of our project. So for Makeblock, for example, like with Makeblock, we invest some on digital marketing. We have some Facebook ads, Google ads, but for Neuro, we totally don't have this kind of investment. We just so Makeblock, we think is very important for the number, because we need this number to tell our distributors that this is a very good product, the customers like it, and they can see from the number. But for Neuron, it's very new. Actually, we don't have, because we see there are some similar products before in Kickstarter, and I think that it's for this project it's very hard for us to get a very high number, like 1 million. So we just use this platform to test if the customer like it. Yeah.
And I mean, I think that is, I think, really interesting how you're distinguishing how what is success for each different project, and thinking about it within the context of your larger business, of the larger category, or the competitive set that a project goes in, as you think about what success means. In terms of when you look at how Kickstarter fits into the development process, like the product development process, how, for you guys, when is the right moment in the development process that you run a Kickstarter campaign? And this might have evolved from when you ran your first campaign, but are you guys at that point just have some proof of concept prototypes? Are you guys pretty much ready and have like a factory tooled up and ready to go? What is the moment that you guys see, and why do you set that?
So now in the very beginning, if we start a new project, And we will take a Kickstarter launch as a very important milestone in the project. So the milestone, so we actually in the first day we will prepare for this and try our best to build a prototype. So the time is suitable is that if you have a prototype that can make a very good video, if it's enough, and but before you need to test if your ideas is good or not, is reliable or not. So the time is that we have the prototype, and this prototype can work and can use it to make a video. And maybe in this time our software is not ready, other things is not ready, but it's okay. So the prototype can work and can make video. I think this is the right time.
And do you guys, in terms of when you develop a prototype, what level of testing do you do with, do you guys share or involve that community in the development of the prototype or testing of a prototype before you launch on Kickstarter? Have you ever tried that? Is that something?
Yes. So before we launch on Kickstarter, we may share some information on our Facebook page and tell our customers that we will launch the new project. And but we also have an email list that we have some VIP customers. They can see more details about the new project, and they may have some advice on this. So yeah, so with the email list, only include VIP customers and a Facebook page that some of our fans can see it before Kickstarter, and then it's Kickstarter.
And kind of getting into the mechanics of running campaigns. I mean, your team now has run a really large number of campaigns. What are some of the things that you wish you knew, when you ran your first campaign that you know now? And I guess, I know as you mentioned before, the ecosystem has changed, and certain of the things that you did early on, maybe the tools that you use have evolved, as the market has matured. Can you talk a little bit? What are maybe one or two things that you think is most important for founders now that are about to launch a project?
Actually, it's in our project so I can feel that it's very hard for a new project to get a high number on Kickstarter. So with Makeblock, we invest some Facebook ads and to get this number. But with Neuron, I think it's very hard. If I want to get a high number, maybe I need to put a lot of money into it. One thing is that I can remember very important is that one thing is the stretch goal. So that's for our Mboard is about 2 years ago. Mboard. So Mboard is a normal product, but in our goal is about 150,000. And then, so that's our goal, and it seems that with this goal is no problem. But finally, I told my colleagues that we want to reach higher. We want maybe 250,000. So how to make this possible? So we decided design a stretch goal. So we told our backers that if we can reach 250, we will send them each one a new, very good accessory for the robot. So actually the accessory is very popular. So after we launched this stretch goal, many backers, they increased their amount. You can see the number increase, and many people just just increase their backers without any new return. Yeah, so this is very that make me remember very good. And another thing is that it's always very important to have a good video. Yes, the video is very important. But actually, so for us, our video is always not as good as I want. So the number is always not as good as I want.
And I have seen that your videos have evolved a lot from what they used to be. I mean, I think your early videos tended to be more, I think, the traditional style of Kickstarter videos. Your newest videos tend to have a little bit more of, you know, actors and people, you know, and kind of, as you kind of evolved the strategy of videos that you guys have used, well, what are some of the core things that you try to get across in your video? What is the, yeah, like what are some tips that you have from that storytelling perspective?
For us, so in the very beginning, we make video by ourselves. So in the first 3 projects, we make video by ourselves. It's not that bad because we can understand our project, our product very good. So maybe we don't have very good camera, we don't have very good director, but the product can, the video is not that bad. Then we have more money. Our company is big, so we started to try to find some very good company to produce video for us. But for our product, it's not like a normal consumer product. It's kind of a new product, new concept. So it takes a very long time to let our cooperators to understand this product, and because we need to communicate overseas, and we only have a very short time to stay outside, to stay in America to cooperate with them to make a video. So the time is always not enough, and the communication is always not enough. So actually, so the later videos seems that the image looks good, but some key point of the product is not a very good experience. Yeah.
And in terms of you know, updates and the way you engage your community as the project is running, and also as you, I know with the you know, Airblock project, you know, the rewards were just a few months behind schedule. How do you guys manage? I mean, this is something that's very common, I think. You know, I think most founders that have run a Kickstarter project that has been successful have often been encountered challenges. I mean, I think you guys have things pretty figured out, and you guys almost always deliver, you know, on time or very close to on time. But how do you guys manage that, like, backers' expectations when delays do arise?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that you should make, when you make promise, you should calculate very detail what time is possible for you. So before we launch the project, before we decided the shipping time, we will work with our factory, our supply chain people to discuss what time is possible, and we will control our launching time. So not very early before the launch. We don't want our backers to wait for a long time. So that's one thing. And another thing that because we in recent 5 years we are always doing hardware. We have our own supply chain. We have a very good relations with factories. So we can, I think that we can control more about the production, the manufacture. And another thing is that is our product actually is not very hard on technology side. So we don't take this kind of risk. Yeah. So I think that's also very important for you to ship your product.
Awesome. And I think just, you know, I think the last question that I'll send you to kind of wrap up. What is next for Makeblock? You know, what do you guys see for the next, you know, 12 months, 24 months?
We will still focus on steam medication, so we think this area is very big, and we can do a lot of things in this area. And we will launch maybe two new projects in September. So yeah, just I think our goal of this company will never change. It's just to help people to make things in the real world. So right now we provide the aluminum parts, the neural, the electronic groups, and then maybe later we will produce like tools, like 3D printer, laser cutting machines for people to make things in the real world.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us. If you guys want to chat with either me or Jason, we'll be hanging out afterwards. So come say hello. Thank you.
Okay, take care. 800,000, and the PR, the video, the digital marketing, I think is about 200,000.
200,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Totally.
the video itself is probably not that much compared to maybe video, PR, probably the digital marketing is the most expensive
All together.
So it's cost of business, but if you go through distribution, retail, everything, that would cost you a lot more than that, right?
Yeah.
And I guess your margins are still pretty comfortable.
Yeah, maybe you can't get a very good profit on Kickstarter, but Kickstarter is a very good way to marketing, to let people to know your new product. So one example is that if you I think several months ago, I tried to search Makeblock on Google. So I think the first is our homepage, and the second is Kickstarter page. I think that's nearly 5 years ago. So it's still on the first page of Kickstarter of Google search results. Yeah, so it's very good channel for people to know your product.
So make sure you have enough margin on your product. Okay, one last final quick question, if anyone has one. Otherwise, yes?
For a new company, join KS, how do we get into your newsletter?
I wish I could give you a very simple recipe, but unfortunately there isn't. What I can give you, there's a few things. I think the first thing you should do is research. If you go on Kickstarter, search for projects that have been staff paid. Those are called projects we love. Look at those, examine those. I think a few of the things that you're going to see about those projects is that those projects, the thing itself that's being created is interesting. We have a curation team that is responsible for making those selections, so it matters. I mean, the fact is, if you do something that there's been 100 other people who have done a similar project, it's a lot harder for you to stand out. I know nobody's here is working on a wallet, so I'll use that as an example. Wallet is one of those things that there's been thousands of wallets on Kickstarter, so it would be very hard, no matter for you to get a wallet that is going to get on a newsletter. But if you're doing something more creative, creative tools are things that we like. So the thing that you're making matters a lot. And then beyond that, in terms of your project page, you want to have something that's that's clean and well designed. So something that shows that you put in time and effort and attention to detail. After all, if you look at the products that we feature, they're all ones that you can tell the creator put a lot of time and care into making that page look good, but also make that story, the narrative of the page, is also something that's been well crafted. So it's not just about looks, but it's also about the story that's being told. And we really like projects that celebrate the creative process. So they're not projects that are treating their product as a pre-sale, but they're actually treating their project as a journey to bringing a product to life, where they're asking their backers to join them on that journey. And that to us is really important. If you are treating your product as a pre-sale and you're talking about it as pre-orders, it's very unlikely that your project will be staff picked. We really do, and part of that is because it's important to keep in mind that when you're doing a Kickstarter, you're essentially raising funds for a product that is not manufactured yet. And so calling it a pre-sale is actually a misnomer because it makes it sound like almost like there's absolutely no chance of failure. And the fact is, for us, we do a lot of work trying to educate backers that there is always a risk of failure. The fact is, you can have the best team and you can have everything set, but if you, for example, if you're the factory that you've paid to manufacture a product goes bankrupt and you lose all of the money, like a big chunk of the money that you have raised, it doesn't matter how well prepared you were, all of a sudden. So it's really important for us that you not only celebrate that process, but that you're very honest in the way that you're talking to your backers. Your product is not shrink wrapped and ready to ship. It is still in that part of the process.
Thank you. I think that wraps up this interview. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on. Next is a panel with Gil from Jellop. So we're going to try to sit somewhat in this order. So Gil, if you want to sit here, Jackson is going to be here, and Duncan there. So there's also a chance for those of you who are not sitting to find some spots. So there are some sitting spots over here. For those of you who find the concrete too cold, you can stand up a little bit. And all right. Okay, so I have a few questions to get started, but I think the easiest way to get started is to start with quick self-introductions. So I'll do very general introduction first. So Jellop is a company doing digital marketing that's been working with a number of HAX projects. So they're going to tell you more details about what they do and how things have worked so far. And Jackson runs a PR company that also has worked with a number of HAX companies to help them do media outreach, roadshows, demos. He knows everything about how to not fail a demo, which is probably the worst thing that you want, because if you once you're in front of a journalist, you spend a lot of effort to get that meeting, and that demo doesn't go well. That's probably the worst thing. Duncan so joined HAX about 3 years ago and has invested now in about 100 companies, and I've seen mostly the best, sometimes the less best. And can also share some stories about crowdfunding. We actually have a company going on live on Kickstarter basically in a couple of hours. And we're not exactly entirely happy about it, but mostly happy. We can talk about that too. So all right, Gil, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So hi, I'm Gil, and came all the way from Israel. I'm co-founder of Jellop, which is a digital advertising agency. And with time, we've developed a very specific specialty of promoting projects that are running on Kickstarter. In the last 2.5 years, we've supported some 300 projects, and from the biggest one, which was the last Pebble campaign, and 2 big design campaigns, and I think overall over 30 projects that raised more than $1 million. Quite a lot of them HAX companies, Cocoon, Rebels, Nura, View, Mindset, to just count a couple of them. And what we do again is just we run the ads. Okay, so if a project is doing well, we can probably bring in people that would be very interested in pledging.
How did we meet?
Oh yeah, okay. So we're in marketing, so you're making me, forcing me to reveal some secrets here. But we were just
within a bar.
It's okay. We were just starting, and there's a lot of service providers to Kickstarter projects. Some are good, some are not, and it's very hard to tell who's good and who's not. And there's a lot of noise. And we were seeing a project that was running on Kickstarter. It was Cocoon that did really well, and we really liked it. And we thought, man, if we would work with these guys, we can add some green nitro to their project. And then we sent an email, we sent another one, and they were flooded with offers. And so we thought, okay, we're gonna show them. That's the Israeli way. We're gonna show them what they're missing. So we just run ads. We didn't ask them. We just run ads, and they told me, and Duncan told me that they was, that day they got, I don't know, a few extra thousand, I don't remember exactly.
40,000 US
40,000, all right. And they were, where is it coming from? And obviously we tagged it properly, so it led to our website. And at that time we had a chat, and I don't know if it was, I think it was Nick, that came up and like, what's going on, And from there it was very easy once we've shown them what we can do, and I think, I don't remember exactly the numbers, but it was a lot that we've added at the end.
$600,000, right?
Pretty good. Jackson?
Yeah, my name is Jackson, everybody. Nice to see you all. My name is Jackson Whiteman. I'm from Montreal. As Ben said, I own a PR firm called Proper Propaganda. We work with a range of different companies. We work with some bigger brands, we work with some B and A round startups, but one of the little growth divisions of our business has been the crowdfunding side. We have refined the process that I think works pretty well for hardware most of the time over many campaigns and many screw-ups and all of that stuff. Worked with a lot of HAX companies. We worked with Rebels, that was our first one, that's how we kind of got in with HAX. I think Rebels is still the biggest HAX campaign, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Done a bunch of others, did Wazer, did Neura, did Mindset, Trainerbot, one of my favorites. The Chen guys are here somewhere. So yeah, really been fun to kind of get in with the HAX family, and excited to be here.
Okay, I'm Duncan. I run the office here, so managing director of HAX at large, and then there's a huge team that actually runs it, so there's 28 pretty much full-time staff here. So they're underneath the whole organization of SOSP. So I think the first time I came into contact with Kickstarter was just before joining HAX 3 years ago, where one of my friends did a Kickstarter, and then since then I think we've done now, while I've been here, like 50 campaigns, 45 campaigns. We account for like 1.5% of the entire Kickstarter. It was just pretty interesting to see that.
Over 10% of the projects above 1 million.
Yeah. But they don't always work well. And it's interesting to see some of the failures that happen as well. So we we really like the HAX companies to go to Kickstarter. It's a great way to engage with customers, and it also is a fantastic just general launch platform. So we have continued to do that since I joined, and it's been a pretty good journey so far.
Yeah. So what's interesting here is that you have kind of a Kickstarter support dream team, from the marketing to PR to all the know-how accumulated within HAX. Anytime a company from HAX runs a campaign, we ask them, okay, what worked, what didn't. We collect that. We collect those best practices so that as soon as, for example, Cocoon works with you, and that worked well, Rebels worked with you, that worked very well, then we're like, okay, those guys are good, and then we can introduce to everybody else, and then eventually that kind of coalesced into a pretty powerful formula. So what I'd like to understand from you guys is a few things. That what do you think are the criteria that make a project the most successful? When you look at a project, do you feel you get a pretty good way to estimate the potential of the project? You're like, oh, this is project can get to 1 million, 500,000, 2 million, 5 million. And are your predictions accurate? Because we play that game here, and we fail a lot. Sometimes we're too accurate on it, we're not so happy about it. So what's your take on it? Can you anticipate the potential of a project, and what do you think makes a successful project?
Right, so first of all, I wish I could, but we can't. I can say that with time it's getting pretty easy to know which project won't do well or will do very bad. That's pretty easy to tell. But if a project will do just fine and or really be a blockbuster, it's quite hard. And there's so many components to the project that need to be aligned well, and that is hard. I think that the first thing, the macro thing to look at is there a fit between the offering or the product to the Kickstarter audience or community? Because Kickstarter, everyone here is thinking about Kickstarter all the time, but it's still very niche. And there have been only 12 million backers, I think, since Kickstarter has launched and 4 million repeat backers. So, and most projects, you can see them, they bring no more than 20% first-time backers. So you really need to think, is the product that I want to launch on Kickstarter, is it a good fit to the Kickstarter audience? So one example is that the Kickstarter audience is mainly male. It's about, I think, 80%. So any female product is going to have a hard time on Kickstarter. It doesn't mean that it won't work, but it's not a good starting point.
If I can add to that, I mean, there's a couple of things that I think, and again, so let me begin by saying, per Ben's question, we make predictions in my agency and we get it wrong a lot. So I'll start there with a bit of humility because it's the truth. A couple of other factors that I would say probably factor into the success, the potential for a project to go massive. One is category, frankly. Some categories do better on Kickstarter than others. You know, our biggest projects have been headphones. There's a reason for that. We have, of the projects our agency has done, I think the 3 biggest have all been headphones. There is the potential for, you know, so category matters a lot. A couple of other things matter a lot in terms of overall success. One is the vibrancy, the engagement that a company may have around its community. And so I would say, you know, from our perspective, the foundation on which the crowdfunding house is often built is indeed, you know, the community. So that's something that you can all do regardless of category, regardless of fit with Kickstarter. You can put energy and time into building and engaging with a community. That's a very important piece. Companies that have communities tend to do better. I think the third one that I'll list, and maybe this is a bit off topic, but it's more of a media relations one, and I'm a PR guy, so that's how I tend to see the world. It is very, very important if you are hardware in this day and age, you need to have a works like prototype. You need to be able to show it off. The days of being able to show media a video or a photo and do great are all but dead. So I think that's a third element in projects that we see work. They do have that good works like prototype.
So that means you cannot just send a video link, you have to actually show for people to trust that it's real.
That's it. I mean, I think there has been, due to some flameouts, due to some pretty well publicized, well covered in the media flameouts, there is a bit of a trust deficit, especially around technology products. The tech media is probably the most cynical segment of media that I can think of. These people are, you know, dark and suspicious, and brooding and all of that. So yeah, you have to overcome that. And one way to do it is to say, hey, let's play show and tell. I got something real. Look at it, touch it, play with it, whatever. It's real.
Duncan, how about HAX prediction powers?
Yeah, so like this, it's really difficult. You never really know what's going to do really, really well. You know what's going to do okay, like going to get a couple 100,000, and that's normally a number of things. Like it's the fit with the product. So have they got a product which has been executed well? Does it resonate with people? Have they tested the messaging before they go online? That's one thing that I find hilarious. Sometimes people just don't do. They just kind of don't do any Facebook ads and then suddenly try and get their Kickstarter page up. Having an early community is a really good one. So like a large friends and family network will get you that initial push up to like 20,000, maybe 50,000. That's something that Nira did really well.
So when you talk about communities, community of people you know personally, not necessarily a community of people who are just interested in the general field. Right?
No, not then you have a larger community which is your mailing list, which can be like 5,000, 10,000 people, but you know, a small community of people that you know are gonna back you immediately. Waze did this very well.
They had a bunch of friends who wanted to buy a $5,000 laser, like water jet pellet.
Waze went live at 9 a.m. on New York time, I think it was, or 8 a.m. At 3 minutes to 9, they actually put their thing live, and they already hit their goal by 9 o'clock with $100,000.
On the go, if I remember, a lot of people were actually really pissed off because they were like,
because they were 3 minutes early.
It just went live. I went to the page at the exact time, was already like the early birds were already sold out. Right?
So that's a really good bump that you get, and that really, and then you get media comes in. Media can give you like a couple $100,000 if it's done. In a certain area like the Verge.
I guess it depends. Like it depends if you can hit like from tech media. I guess we're going to talk more with Jackson about that because there's different layers of media, from tech media to mass media.
Yeah.
It's like viral media. It's kind of the new fancy thing.
And then you just kind of you let it open to the public a little bit for about a week. You see how it goes. If people are responding to it well, then it's going to go well. Then you can kick in with ads, and then kind of rise up. That's how you see the successes working for us.
So talking about the preparation of the campaign, I'd like to get back to Jackson on that. So how early should you be talking to media? How do you prepare for a media launch? And what can you do during the campaign? This may become a complex question.
Sure. A couple of different things. I mean, I think the one mistake we see regularly from prospective clients, from clients, and from people we just sort of who run into us randomly, is that they start the process around PR and media relations way too late. So the day you launch is not the time to start the process. We typically say that you want to begin thinking about PR 6 to 8 weeks before a campaign. For some products that are a little complex, like I spoke to some teams today that are in a little bit more nebulous situation in terms of messaging, they're going to even start 10 to 12 weeks out. So it's a front-end loaded process, PR. You need time to, as Duncan alluded to, sort through messaging. You need to talk to the people who might be running Facebook ads. You need time to build a media list. You need time to kind of come up with what the demo is going to look like, what's going to wow journalists. Our general rule of thumb is the actual outreach would start around 4 weeks before the campaign. Anybody who's been part of working with a PR firm or done media outreach knows it is a very messy, hard to control, hard to predict, generally shit show of a process that can be quite frustrating. So you need time to kind of run through that, and that's why we say a month before. Our formula for most hardware, again, and the HAX teams, many of them have been through this, is a roadshow done under embargo a week before the launch. So that's a very, very important part of the process, again, because of what I was saying before. Tech media particularly need to see it. I think after you launch, there's a few things that are very important. I mean, one of the sort of best direct-to-public relations tactics, so not a media tactic, is now using the Kickstarter live stream. We've seen a number of HAX teams do it well. We've seen a number of other clients do it well. I think, and Julio might attest to this. It's something that people are still kind of discovering how they can deploy it. But I would say as a direct-to-public public relations tool, we're seeing the live streams work really well for some types of companies. And it's especially cool for hardware that needs to be showed off, needs to be demoed. And the output of that can then be used to media who might be signal.
Can you explain a bit how it works?
Sure.
What's the live stream?
The Kickstarter live function, I mean, it's just it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the ability to broadcast live to your backers via your Kickstarter page. I think that's a pretty fair characterization. So it's a way to kind of connect directly with people. You can invite media to that live stream moment, why wouldn't you? But you can definitely engage directly with your backers, which often is the best way of doing PR. The other thing I would touch on, I just want to mention this, sorry for the long answer here, guys. A week, 2 weeks into the campaign, there is a category of media that is really starting to do a lot in some instances for certain types of Kickstarter projects, and I would call these kind of video first outlets. So it's stuff like Unilad, GI Gadgets, Lad Bible. In the last probably, I don't know, 8 to 16 months, we've seen these types of outlets driving more traffic, not necessarily more conversions, but more traffic than the big legacy tech outlets that everybody gets, finds all sexy, the tech crunches and the Engadgets and that. So I would say those are outlets in our experience that don't publish early in a campaign. They are outlets that publish later, and that is a very good thing because they can give you a real shot in the arm. I know the Mindset guys are here. I don't know how I think they were on Lad Bible or one of those late in their campaign. I don't know how it converted, but these can be really good things.
A lot of our viral videos didn't really do a lot for us besides traffic.
Okay.
I guess that's a question I'll ask later.
Sure.
If there's anything we can do.
It's a little dependent on category. It's a little dependent on a few factors.
Yeah, so that's kind of a recent thing. But what we found was quite difficult is that it's difficult to find the people behind those viral videos and to actually do outreach. So it's maybe something. Yeah, I don't know if you know more about it.
We know some people.
Yeah, great. Okay, Gil. So tell us. So I asked about when should you prepare for PR? What can you do during campaigns? I'd like to ask the same question about online marketing and Facebook ads. Like Duncan talked about the messaging that could be tested prior. Some campaigns that go live without testing it, we probably have the same one in mind at the moment. Like what can be done with online marketing prior, during, what's the right time? How to work it out?
So Duncan is absolutely right. You need to use online ads is good because you can see immediate results right away. And that's the place to A/B test your messaging and to hone on to it. You know, what message grabs attention and what message not just grabs attention but get people to make an action, to sign for a pre-launch email list. And then you need to see, you know, what image works best, and you're going to use that on your Kickstarter page. Okay, you want to be prepared. You don't want to start flipping your Kickstarter page on the go. It's too late. So find out all these things beforehand while you do, you know, you try to build a pre-launch email list.
And what is the right time to start kicking in some advertising to support the campaign? Like from the get-go, or when you get some momentum?
Right. So
media kicks in. What is the right time?
So I'll share our perspective. Some may have different one. Ads traffic, even if you're doing a very good job, is not the best traffic there is. Because, you know, someone was scrolling on his feed, on his Facebook feed, on his mobile, and you just, you know, you manage to grab his attention, and you manage to convince him to click, and he's on the page. All right, what's now? You know, now you have to convert. But if you compare that to someone that signed up to a pre-launch list, that was, you know, engaged in a smart way beforehand, or someone who is in a community that actually maybe saw the product or a prototype, or someone who read about it in his favorite blog, good review, and then is coming to the page much more ready to back.
So paid traffic doesn't convert as well as earned traffic.
Right, and maybe I missed, you know, the best traffic is people that are organically on Kickstarter. I think this is one of the beautiful things on Kickstarter. So a lot of very good traffic, you know, the people that are, you know, coming to Kickstarter looking for interesting new things, and they're very, you know, in a very good mood to explore. So ads traffic is colder than that. The advantage is that it can be scaled and it can get pretty massive, and you can control it. So we usually like to run in the last 18 days of the campaign. We found it to be an optimal time to test and optimize and scale. The best days are obviously the last 3 days, okay? And this you know, come back to what I said, and it's cold traffic. So Facebook ads traffic, when they come in and they see there's a lot of backers and a lot of money pledged, they want in. Okay, that's the way it goes. So the more backers and the more pledges you receive, the higher the conversion rate will be.
So new backers are more confident to back when there's already a lot of people who did it.
Right. So right, exactly that. Maybe one exception is that we do it pretty much when a HAX project is we also support the launch day, because launch is important. And there's a lot of PR effort, and the email list is going out, and the ads are going, you know, chipping in. And here is it's usually you know, we're playing on the early bird, you know, that you need to grab them now, and it's a different.
Yeah, you touched upon a couple of things that are quite interesting. You mentioned the organic traffic that converts very well. And I think for a lot of people who don't have a lot of experience with Kickstarter, they maybe imagine that you can just put your project there and that just the organic traffic is going to be enough to fund you, which might happen sometimes, but if you look at the campaigns, very often, most of the backers actually are backers you brought from your network, your community, media, or advertising. Is that something that, like maybe Duncan, like is that like across different campaigns from HAX? What's your take on organic versus ads, PR?
Community. It's very difficult to actually answer that. Like Cocoon, I think, had the best organic that we've ever seen. So
Terra unexpected. So Cocoon, just for info, it's this one here, it's headphones with EEG, so brainwave sensors to monitor when you sleep, but they have particular design so you can keep your headphones on when you're sleeping. So if you're sleeping with noisy people, or if you're maybe traveling or something, that's pretty useful. They actually did fantastic. They raised almost $2 million, but that was quite unexpected.
Yeah, very unexpected.
So what happened? Was it all Kickstarter organic, or was it somewhere else?
It was mostly organic, actually. And the really interesting thing is, like, you know, we talk about these strategies that you've got. You know, you have your early community, you have your press, you have a larger mailing list, but the real number is like a week and a half into the Kickstarter project. If you look at the daily data on KickTrack, you'll see like 20,000, 10,000, maybe even just 2,000 per day. That's what I call the real number, like where this project is really actually resonating with the market. That very much varies depending on different projects. So, you know, Cocoon obviously just hit it like crazy. It was unbelievable. They found a market of people that really wanted their product, and they were getting around $45,000 or $50,000 organic traffic a day.
That's pretty good. So, any observations on your side about like where basically sources of traffic during the project, and how much is like organic?
Sure. The thing I would say, I would just echo what Duncan said. In effect, it varies. It varies by category and varies by product. And I think that certain categories tend to be hotter at certain times, and Kickstarter, the community evolves a little bit, I think. The other thing I'd say, though, and Duncan's point is a good one, like you look at some of the HAX campaigns, you mentioned Cocoon, like View's another one I understand that had very consistent buy, like people were buying this very regularly. And I know a few people are talking next, so I won't always steal their thunder, but that's a very critical thing, and I think it's just indicative of like the fit of the product with the Kickstarter tribe. And I would say, you know, as Bill was saying, if you're going to Kickstarter, you're dealing with a particular tribe. There are projects that get all sorts of people backing them who have never backed anything on Kickstarter before, but I would say that is not the norm.
So I think all the things they are fueling each other. So as Jason from Makeblock mentioned, the Kickstarter scene has evolved a lot. At the beginning, it was, if you were good enough, it was, you know, it was pretty easy to stand out. But now it's not that easy. So you may have a good launch, and because you had a good community or emails, and that's it, and you're gonna get some traffic, organic traffic, and then you go down, and no one scrolls and scrolls and scrolls on Kickstarter. So no one will see, or you will not receive exposure on Kickstarter. But then if you do use PR on launch or ads on launch, then you're gonna get those, you know, those dollars coming from PR or ads are going to keep you up in the Kickstarter ranking. And keeping you up in the Kickstarter ranking will bring you the organic traffic, which is the best, and that will keep you up and up and up and up. And that obviously depends if the project is really good. But if it is, then you may find yourself in a positive scenario riding this popularity wave all along, but it's a very rare case.
Okay, I'd like to move on to kind of best practices, worst practices. So I'll give you a bit of time to think about what are the things that really some campaigns totally like did wrong, and what you don't need to give names, just like what happened, and other things that some campaigns did really, really right. So maybe Duncan, if you want to start, but some ideas about that, like things not to do on things that actually are really, really good to do.
Okay, so things that are really good to do. Who did it really? I think Rebels did probably one of the best. I mean, monetarily they did the best job, but probably one of the best jobs in terms of amping up the marketing. So to start with, so they went around and they had a really nice, it's a custom fit earphone, and they had a really nice sample that they could actually demo on all of the journalists. Dan's a fantastic salesperson. So he'd go in, he'd sell the concept, he would get everyone behind him, they'd actually test it out so they knew it was really real. And then that, I think, Jackson probably like helped a lot of the press to happen, right?
It did.
Yeah.
If I could jump in for 1 second. What was interesting about Rebels, the thing I was going to say you have to have is a good working prototype. Rebels demoed their earphone without the ability to play one note of sound through that earphone.
So headphones with no sound.
Headphones with no sound, but they could demo the magic piece, the things molded via an app, and that's what everybody went apeshit over. That was enough to win the day. So I'm going to hand it back to Duncan because he's not finished, but it's an interesting point about where prototypes need to be ready and what you need to demo. You need to demo magic, not every function.
That's a really good point. Actually, another thing about Rebels that kind of justifies also why they did so well, that they had one of their founders who was purely focused on the business.
Two of them, yeah.
And another one who was even basically focused on basically supporting the campaign. So Dan was going around doing media, doing outreach, and Tally was focusing on the campaign itself. So it's actually kind of not so common configuration among HAX teams where people are mostly engineers, and there's not always somebody who takes charge. And this went really well, right?
Yeah, the wizard launch was great. I think just again another good practice. I was going to say, community building is a key. Wazer did a good job of it. Communities are not all created equal. Sources for building the community are not all created equal. So it is great, and you should run Facebook ads, and you should, use those things to test your messaging and hopefully build your email list. I would argue that in-person outreach, going into, if you're making a fabrication tool, going to maker events, going to maker fair, going to, participating in these communities, getting in there and doing old school in-person stuff is another very good technique. And I think there's a number of campaigns that have done that well out of HAX, including that one. Things that will absolutely cause trouble. I think, I keep coming back to state of prototype. Like if your prototype doesn't do what you say it is, or if you have, somebody on your team or a PR agency pitching your prototype, and then you show up with media and it doesn't do well, that can be problematic. Doesn't mean, mistakes are made in demos. It happens. It doesn't mean the ship is sunk, but it can cause problems. PR is a very unpredictable thing. It's often a messy channel. Not having your prototype right makes it even messier. So that would be just something, and I know that's what you're all working on here at HAX, is getting that right. It's such an important piece for so many elements of the marketing pieces of the company.
And it looks like the demo should almost be a little choreography.
Yeah, I think the thing about demos, the way to view demos, demos are moments of theater. Interactions with media are moments of theater that begin the moment you walk in the door and end the moment you leave. And so everything needs to be kind of scripted. You need to have thought about answers to questions. And every question that is asked needs to be answered with a message. You need to answer in, not in rambling diatribes that go on forever. There are a range of kind of important ways we deal with media. And as Ben was sort of alluding to, the demo is theater. You need to sort of view it that way. Not something that sometimes engineers are all that familiar with. Not to hate on engineers.
So they just haven't maybe taken enough theater classes.
There we go. Next time.
Extracurriculars.
During your master's, take a theater class.
So Gil, what's your take? Best practices, worst practices?
Well, since advertising and digital advertising is very measurable, so we always look at the numbers. And pricing and reward tiers are very, very important. So especially if you want to do some paid ads, or even if you don't want to do paid ads, you need to know your margins. You need to know how much does it really cost you, to manufacture and to ship to different locations. And then you need to price yourself, and pricing is a very tricky thing. One thing that we advise creators not to do is not to push the price too low. First of all, because there's always errors, and it costs you more than it should have to produce. And if you wanna spend money on ads, you need to have room to sustain it. And the bigger you want to go, then there are diminishing returns. So at the beginning you can get very, very extremely high returns, But if you want volume, then the returns will drop. So you need to know your numbers. You need to. We think, I don't know, this is my notion, that the Kickstarter audience is not very price sensitive. So so they do expect some discount on the retail price, but this is not why they're here. And another thing is in the reward structure, you need to keep it clear. You don't need to sell a t-shirt if you're developing some gadget. It's irrelevant. Keep it clear. Don't do too many combinations. Avoid the analysis paralysis. And also be very careful about early birds. They're good, but they're also dangerous. People hate it when they come in and the early birds
I missed a great deal. Right.
Exactly. And once you have 1, 2, 3, 4 early bird steers, and you coming in the 5th, and you say, what's going on here, So I'm going to wait for retail anyway. So be careful with that.
Okay, those are good points. Since you alluded to cost, I think it's kind of interesting for teams to, on startups, to get a sense of how much all this costs. So how much does it cost to run ads? How much with you? How much, and in general, what kind of returns they can expect? How much does it cost to do PR? Like as much as you can share in a recorded video. Okay.
Very transparent here. If it's not live stream, so look, it varies a lot. And in ads, there's no magic. If the page doesn't, if the product is not appealing, if the page is not converting well, doesn't matter how much great traffic you're going to bring through ads or PR, they're just not going to convert in a reasonable way. And in ads, you just see the numbers right away, because there's a cost per click, and there's a conversion rate, and there's a cost per acquisition. And so we can't help every project. This is why we selected, because some projects that just, the numbers will not align well. The projects that we do work with can see anywhere between 5 to 15x in return. That means putting $1 in ad spend and getting 5 to 15 in pledges.
Okay. And is there like a sweet spot for the project price itself? Like, can you work with a $20 fidget cube, or do you need to have like more expensive projects?
Right. So it's a great question. We have the lowest one that we promoted was $12. So I think it was a beer bottle, Coke. It was strange, yeah. And we had this Japanese wooden toy for $15, and they did well, but it's very difficult because the mathematics stays. The cost per click for a $15 wooden toy and a $250 headset is the same. So yes, the conversion rate for a cheaper product is higher, but usually not high enough to compensate for that. So the sweet spot is usually between $100 to $200, $250.
$5,000?
Well, we haven't done 5,000, but we have done 2,000, I think. We've done a couple of.
It didn't work with Wazer on iterate?
Wazer, till this day, we don't know why they didn't work with us. I think it's a big mess for both of us. We did a couple of photography equipment that cost $1,000 a unit, and a Chinese bicycle XP that was also about $1,000. And yeah, they can see very good returns.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for that.
So a couple things. I guess I'm going to preface the answer, because you probably want to know the numbers, and I'll give you the numbers in a sec. But I'm going to preface the answer by saying that PR is a very, very unique marketing channel in that it's highly unguaranteed. And so that is very, very frustrating for a lot of people.
You cannot force the journalist to write something?
I cannot walk into the TechCrunch office with a gun and tell them to write about your startup. That might actually precipitate bad PR for your company if I did that. Neither can I do that at the New York Times. So it's a bit of a very annoying channel for founders, for startups, because people like me constantly tell you, well, we don't really know what's going to happen, but we're going to try our best, and we have this process that usually works. So that's the first thing. It's a very risky spin, and you need to know that because you're probably playing with a limited amount of funds given the stage most of you are at. The second thing I think about PR is that it is a top of funnel play. So most of the time, like for some products, that article in Engadget can drive lots of sales and everybody celebrates and goes woohoo. Often it is a top of funnel play. So that is to say an awareness play, not a direct sales play. So that's very different as well. I think the thing to maybe recommend PR is that it has, particularly for more expensive products, a role to play in the buying process. You're not necessarily going to buy a $4,000 water jet because you saw an article, but that article might help cement your decision to buy. Hard thing to quantify, sounds a little wishy-washy, and maybe it is, but it's the truth of the matter, I think, if you really look at it. So it's a top of funnel play, it's a credibility play. The good news about it, unlike digital, not to critique Gil's business model or anything, it stays with you, right? Like that article about your piece of hardware in TechCrunch, you can use that long after your Kickstarter campaign is done. So it has a longer shelf life, and I think that's something that is also important when you're thinking about the spend on PR. Because it is a hell of an annoying channel, it's very unguaranteed. What is the price for an A-level campaign? I mean, it's going to depend. We have a variable pricing model that's primarily based on kind of our output of media, how much earned media we drive. A-level campaigns, I mean, you're looking about 15, 20 grand probably. It can be as low as like 10 or 12, depending on how the performance is going, but it's not a cheap channel. I mean, I don't think for people looking to go big, Kickstarter is no longer a cheap thing. You're looking at probably somewhere between 50 and 100 grand for a big project. That's just the reality of where it's going. Kickstarter is becoming more professionalized, and that if you want to raise big money, you got to spend some money.
Okay, yeah, but your point on the fact that good articles that cover your products play toward your credibility and stay around long term is actually quite important. Because essentially until you ship and people can see like how many stars you got on Amazon, that's what you have, right?
That's
it's what other people say about you that you don't say yourself.
And that's the thing. Again, hard to quantify. I'm going to be Mr. Wishy-Washy here tonight. But it's not just direct sales. It's not even just credibility. Like maybe somebody reads about you, you get a partnership opportunity. Maybe some angel who happens to be having a coffee with his cereal while he's perusing TechCrunch discovers you and goes, oh my God, I have to give these people my money. There's a range of things that can happen that are unpredictable, unknowable, somewhat wishy-washy, but they're all kind of good if they happen right.
So that's probably something we can ask in the next panel to the founders, like what they got that was kind of expected also out of PR.
Right. So on that aspect, so for example, Rebels, when we both worked on it, they had tremendous, PR and got great quotes. We had great quotes from TechCrunch, I think, and I don't remember everywhere, and we used them in the ads. That was part of the ad text. And that's so credible, and so this is another use of the media mention that people usually don't think about.
Actually, it's kind of funny, but I feel that in some cases the journalists are the ones who explain the best what the product is.
Absolutely.
Like the founders, they spend weeks and months. We work with them trying to find a really simple way to explain it. But sometimes the journalist, that's just a job.
Exactly. So for example, in the ad copy, so we think we're very smart in Jellop, and we have a good copyright or whatever, but sometimes, we see our reporter that something way better than we do, and we'll use that, there's no shame in that, because that's his job and he knows how to tell the story.
Duncan, we're talking about cost and ROI, so what's the cost of HAX, what's the ROI?
Well, I think one important point to make here is, actually, if you're a startup, only like 25% of our startups go to Kickstarter, but almost all of them do a similar process of what it takes to go to a Kickstarter launch. So you need video assets, you need photography, you need a really good working prototype, and you need press. That's just what you need to launch.
And even if you don't do crowdfunding, maybe you do sales on your site, so you need traffic and maybe paid ads as well, right?
Yeah,
it's just different.
Well, it depends. If you're a B2B company, maybe not, but it's all part and parcel of launching a company. So a lot of people say to us, a lot of the companies say, hey, well, we're spending all this money. I'm like, yeah, it's a business. You have to launch it. And really, the only extra cost for a Kickstarter that I see is a concentrated amount of travel for the press. and an extra little bit of expense on the press, because maybe if you're a B2B, you probably wouldn't spend that much, although some of our B2B companies have. And then making a Kickstarter video, which is around $5,000 to $10,000. Those are the extra costs. Everything else, like online marketing, it's stuff that you, NPR, it's stuff you have to do anyway.
So what does HAX do for teams? So we work with service providers.
We introduced a great service provider.
So, but now that they're world famous,
and we give them money.
we give them money.
Yeah.
What do we do to help them prepare for the campaigns? And what does HAX do?
Yeah, so I mean, actually the best thing we do really is introduce them to other founders. So there's a community here of founders that have been through the process. They can talk more and better about what it takes to do a good campaign than really we can. But we then also have collated a bunch of
building a community, engaging with it, testing the messaging. Duncan, you want to start? Oh.
So get testing with your webpage. Make sure that you've got the right messaging for people. Get sign-ups on your webpage. Depending on what you're doing, you want at least like 4,000 to 5,000 emails in your database of people that you know might be interested in what you're doing. And then interview those people. Make sure that your messaging resonates. Make sure the features that you're going to be advertising resonates. Basically, do full customer development with those people, and then start to build up the hype. So start showing videos, start sharing different features about the product, and then hopefully they're super engaged by the time it actually comes to launch.
Jackson?
Sure. So I'll give you a PR answer if it's okay. There's a bunch of stuff you can do. But for PR, I would say that one of the great misconceptions about PR is that it's a talking game, because PR people tend to have giant mouths and never shut up. You should listen. So whatever that is, whatever listening tool you're using, whether it's like a social mention or the Google alerts or whatever the hell it is, listen, track what's going on media-wise in the space, see who's writing about it, one, and then see what angles are being written about. So one of the things that a lot of founders don't understand is that tech coverage waxes and wands, and interest from the tech media, though they're not a monolithic block, in particular categories waxes and wands a bit. And that's something that probably tomorrow you can set up a pretty robust listening program to see what is going on, what has been going on in your category. Whether you do your own PR, whether you hire an agency, that is going to be extremely valuable information to have.
Actually, maybe I'll just do a very quick comment on this one. So recently, a startup started by a friend is doing very strange things, kind of basically space burials. So you send the ashes of dead people into space, into orbit. So there's an audience for that. And just a week ago, actually helped him to announce a new contract they have with SpaceX. And just a few days prior to that, SpaceX had successfully done a launch, and basically that. So we did like some really bad things because we did it very last minute, because Elon Musk is a pain in the ass to work with for PR. Like to say, it's very, very controlling. But also, what was really good is that the news was very fresh, and we had SpaceX part of our news in a way. So the news became more about them than about us. We're like, oh, SpaceX has a new special payload in a future launch. So it was not even promoting the company name, but we did exactly what you said. We reached out to the journalists that had just covered, like we looked at Google News, typed SpaceX, looked at the most recent biggest media who covered them, found the journalists, and we emailed or we tweeted to them. Actually, Twitter had very good response rate, asking them, hey, SpaceX will have a new payload, like a special payload, are you interested in knowing more? And then that's where we ended up basically in 48 hours getting some crazy coverage, but that's when you have SpaceX on your side. It's a bit special. Gil?
I just said that, lead generation, don't start too early, because people sign up today and tomorrow they forget. So try to engage with them. It's very hard to create, a really interesting automatic email funnel. So I, try to have something, but I think 3 months ahead of time is a long time, because, you can get those 4,000 signups over 3 months or in a week. So it will be a lot more intensive in a week, but there's a good chance that these leads will be much warmer.
Okay. Wait, yes.
We're from Mindset, so we're a little bit further along in the process. We've done our Kickstarter, we're sitting on Indiegogo. The question is, like, what advice do you have for people who have launched on Kickstarter, and now we're in that lull between the original hype and like actual shipping?
So, after the end of the Kickstarter campaign and before shipping, like what's going on? Like, should you do, I don't know, Indiegogo or something else? What can you do?
Again, just your perspective. There's a couple of things, and I guess the first thing is this. It is okay for a time to kind of keep quiet a little bit. And that's something that sometimes that's counterintuitive.
Duncan is not so sure about it. Why?
So I would say that, again, from a media relations perspective, we want to bother journalists, we want to approach journalists about ourselves, not about other things going on in the space. We can approach them about things going on in the space, but if we don't have news, often I think it's best to not be pitching people. Now, that said, there are probably a couple of story tropes that your company can pursue and companies in your position can pursue. One is sort of getting into the news as an expert commenter on anything related to, in your case, neurofeedback or kind of promoting focus. That's one thing, so that you build kind of authority. That's something that can be ongoing. It's not necessarily pitching the product, it's pitching you as experts in the space. And that's something that can be done with good listening. Two, if there is any news, of course, related to partnerships or investment, that is stuff that should be properly promoted and should probably be, as you did before your Kickstarter, you want to send that information to keep people under embargo, you want to do an announcement, all of that kind of stuff, for partnerships or for funding. Partnerships tend to be news that companies overrate the newsworthiness. Funding, obviously, it can work. But I think those are two things from a PR perspective that are valid. Third thing is, if there is an opportunity to create news, that is to say to do something off the wall, if that's congruent with your brand, or to do something around a particular calendar date that might be kind of cool because you guys are focused, and maybe it's going back to school. I don't know what it would be off the top of my head. But those are interesting things to look at. I think, again, we want to kind of go to media when we have relevant stuff, but those are three very different types of story tropes that can keep you at least in the mind of journalists. The fourth thing I would say from a PR perspective, it is very fine to continue engaging with journalists who write about and cover your space in an unobtrusive way. So if a cool study comes out about why people can't focus because they're too distracted, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do directly with mindset, but that's totally relevant to your company. There's a ton of people who write about the distracted nature of humanity. Send them the study. Stay on their radar. Be like a helpful resource, in effect.
And how do you get involved with those PR people before like an article launches? Like there's like Haro, there's like things like that along those lines. How do you actually get involved as an expert?
So, I mean, I would think the first thing is, it's a great question. Haro is a good way. Sometimes journalists on Twitter will sort of tweet out or will mention on their own media properties, hey, I'm working on this. So social media, following key people is a good thing. And then I think, again, especially in the stage you're at, there are people who cover this kind of subject matter. Just stay in touch with them. Like, I'll send them 3 emails a day. Maybe you don't even send them 1 a day, but it's okay every couple of weeks to be like, hey, Mr. X from TechCrunch, I know you keep covering this stuff. I'm loving what you're writing. Did you see this study? Totally unobtrusive, totally not like me, I got more to pitch you. It's you being a helpful resource. Did I answer? Okay.
Lots of good tips there. Duncan, what do you think?
I think my advice to them was hire a digital marketing person, which is you, right? Yeah. So one of the worst things that HAX companies do is they have a fantastically successful Kickstarter, and then they're like, okay, well, we've done our sales now, we're going to go do something else. And that is the worst thing possible, right? It just kills the company. You need to keep that momentum. And mainly because people are watching you, particularly investors are watching. So an investor might look and say, oh, you did $1 million of Kickstarter, great, how many sales you got? How's your growth? Are you growing 10% per month or not? And if you're not, then they look at you as stagnant. And that's a real problem. And that can basically, be a death sentence for a company, almost always.
Because it looks like you were some kind of a paper fire.
It looks like you were just appealing to the Kickstarter community. And you can't actually manage your own sales. And almost always, companies have to raise money before they ship anyway. And what investors want to see is the ability to sell outside of Kickstarter and to continue growth.
That's probably something Gil can say a word about.
So Duncan is absolutely right. So once a project raises the money, is in a race against time and money to deliver. And a lot of time, even with the brightest calculation, the money runs out, and that's the worst case on Kickstarter. They can't deliver. And digital advertising should not stop for a second. And the fact that you're out of Kickstarter, yes, that was very intense, and there was, social proof and a sense of urgency, but that's not the end of the day. Now you move on to a next stage of pre-order, and I actually think that a lot more people are open to pre-order, even from a company that they've never heard about, and pledge on Kickstarter. So, yeah, so, one example, you're working with Cocoon post-Kickstarter, and they're doing quite well, because again, people are much more comfortable doing pre-order. Pre-order is much more closer to e-commerce. Right, so there's this thing about shipping, right? But they put the card, and that's it. And you need to make sure that you collect the money now, and not, as we've seen companies do pre-orders and say, we just take the credit card now, and you will be charged when we deliver. That's very bad. Instead, try to get that channel to make money for you. I don't know if you get to be even profitable, but just not lose as much. And that money accumulates, and you can hire more engineers and invest more in marketing and invest more in delivering the product.
I guess that's something we'll probably answer in the next panel. Okay, so maybe one super quick question, because we're already over time for this panel. Yes?
This is a question for Duncan. I'm doing a snowboard product, so obviously very seasonal. Any thoughts on calendar launch dates?
So he's doing a snowboard product.
Tell me the Jamie aspect.
Okay. Yeah. Ask Jamie. Yeah, I mean, actually, like Julio would answer this better than me, but there are definitely times of the year where it's right to do a launch for certain seasonal products.
Yeah, maybe the best example we had was the coolest cooler. The founder was here like a few weeks ago. The first launch he did was in the winter. Didn't work at all. Nobody was thinking about barbecue. And in the summer, it worked really well. Even though some people, 2 years later, still haven't received it, or might receive it in the middle of the winter. But mostly he's been shipping about at least half of his backers already. It's just having cash flow issues. But yeah, maybe one final question I'd like to ask before moving on to the next panel to Duncan is how much of a predictor of the success of a startup is Kickstarter? I have a few examples in mind, but I'll let you pick yours.
Not necessarily correlating.
So earlier we had Makeblock. The first campaign was 185,000.
Then another one was just around
800,000 later, 300,000.
Yeah.
Last year they have 400 staff, 20 million in sales now. They're doing very, very, very well.
Yeah.
We had a few other projects who did.
They didn't do so much of a big Kickstarter, and then did very good sales afterwards.
Yeah, so pre-sales even much, much bigger than the campaign itself. We also have projects that had a terrible initial campaign and then came back with a second campaign. Actually, I'm thinking of Next Inco, raised less than 100,000. Or you can think about View, who you're going to have a panel a bit later. Well, the first one, the campaign was okay, but not amazing. And then the second was really off the charts. So. Okay, all right, so thank you very much. That's all for this panel.
Bassam, you didn't even know he was going to do this until about a minute ago. So thanks, Bassam.
Woo! Go Bassam!
And so I think what I wanted to do, and I also asked Ben to do something new, so this is going to be completely random, but anyway, hopefully it's sort of fun. So what I actually wanted to do is just introduce 4 now founders to start with. Tintin from View, do you want to just introduce yourself quickly?
Hey everyone, I'm Tiantian. I was born in China, and then we launched our product, View Smart Glasses, last year on Kickstarter and raised 2.2 million in 45 days. Woo! And actually, so after we finished our Kickstarter, we sold an additional 800,000 to so far pre-orders, we sold 3 million. for this product, and we're aiming to ship the glasses by the end of this year. And my personal background is design, and I have another two co-founders, Jason and Aaron. Jason manages all the tech part, and Aaron manages all the business part. So yeah, that's our whole team. And Jason also listed as 30 and 30 in Forbes Asia this year.
Yeah.
Hello.
My name is Alex. I'm the co-founder of Trainerbot. So we make a table tennis robot that'll shoot balls at you. It's incredibly fun, and you just play back whatever you program in the phone. We launched a Kickstarter last May, and we raised around 250,000.
Yeah.
And the whole team is just me and my brother. So together we're building this robot and shipping in September.
Yeah. The Trainerbot.
Bassam?
Yeah, so my name is Bassam, and I'm one of the founders of Band Industries. We make Roadie tuner, which is a tuner for string musical instruments. Our product, the way it works is basically you connect it to the back of the guitar and does tuning automatically. It allows you to choose any from a list of any preset of tunings. And we launched on Kickstarter in 2014. I think me and Vue are the two oldest companies currently present, physically present at HAX Alumni. So we're here in 2013, part of batch 3. And we launched our Kickstarter campaign in 2014, and we raised $178,000. That was for the first product. And then we launched our second product 2 months ago, and we raised $500,000. So yeah.
Hey, if anybody can't hear me, let me know. I'm terrible with microphones, and I never realize it. So I'm Jacob from Mindset.
I'm running for a headphone company.
Right? You'd think we'd have audio down pat of all things. So we launched our Kickstarter in March, a couple months ago. We raised about $1 million, and now we're working towards delivering by the end of the year. So Mindset's a pair of smart headphones with EEG sensors along the inner band. They measure your concentration level in real time, and they use that to improve your concentration while you're working. That's all we have to say. The rest of the team is spread out.
Okay, so one of the things that, so we were talking about predictability of campaigns and stuff. One of the things that I get stuck on is this thing called KickTrack. So does everyone know KickTrack here? So basically it gives you all the analytics of a Kickstarter campaign. And every time a HAX kind of baby gets launched into the world, me and Ben are like nervously watching KickTrack every day to see how they're doing. And the really interesting thing is KickTrack kind of tells you daily data, so it gives you basically a story of every single campaign. And I thought we'd bring up the campaign stories for each company, and so they could just talk through a little bit about what happened with their launch. So I think Mindset, you're first. Maybe can you come over here and talk us through what happened? So how many days did you do?
KickTrack's an addiction.
Yeah.
It's terrible stuff. I haven't seen that graph in a while. I try to stay off of it.
So this is the most important graph. It's the daily data. There's a number of different graphs. They have their predictions. They have like number of comments per day. But this is the actual number of dollar value sold every day.
Yeah, dollar value. So we did a 35-day campaign. So you can basically see the amount raised per day time from when we launched on March 1st through to the end of the campaign 35 days later. The shape is pretty vital, and this is what actually motivated most of the campaign pre-preparation before we started. It's the classic Kickstarter U-shape, where you make the vast majority of your money in the first 4 to 5 days, and then in the last week and a half. So why is that?
Why is that?
So basically, the conversions on Kickstarter are more exciting, more flourished in the first and last elements. So at the beginning, everything's new. You're one of the first backers. There's a lot of media, a lot of preparation from the panel that you saw. They're experts in exactly that. So we spent all of our time in the 3 months before the campaign that we were preparing for it, really gunning for those first 5 days. And it worked out pretty well in our favor. We made roughly $400,000 in the first little while, and that basically snowballed into the entire rest of the campaign success. And then playing through, we have a few jumps.
Yeah, can you talk about this?
That one actually is backer kit. So speaking to, Jill was mentioning that the vast majority of Kickstarter backers are repeat Kickstarter backers. Well, backer kit's a platform that has a lot of them kind of in a big bunch. And when we started working with BackerKit, they sent in a newsletter to all of their Kickstarter backers. Well, targeting Kickstarter backers means you have a much higher likelihood of success. So essentially, that represents one of the many media sources that we got. It's an element of outreach that we kind of put some time in cultivating, and as a result, spiked up the sales on that day. What's interesting, actually, is what you can't see is on the 9th, we got a video on Now This. It's one of the viral videos on Facebook. And we got roughly 250,000 views. So if we had had 1% conversion on that, that would be basically the entire worth of the campaign. If we had 0.1% conversion on that, it would be the biggest spike you'd ever seen. 0.01% conversion, you'd be able to see it. We got basically no sales from that list. It was like the worst investment of our time. So 250,000 people saw the video, nobody bought it. And the reality of that is just that the product we were selling is not for that market. The Now This people, the type of clientele that's watching that, is not looking to buy $300 headphones. They're looking to be informed on a new technology. So,
who advised you to do that?
Some magical teacher whose name shall remain nameless.
I thought it was a good idea at the time. It worked really well.
Ironically, so did we.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
What is that?
Yeah, so Jake will actually shoot a very classic Kickstarter sales cycle. Actually, so before we launch our campaign, we thought, should we do 60 days, which is a typical HAX tradition, or a shorter time? Because we saw that huge cycle, so we decided to do a 45 days campaign, because we noticed most of the sales happen at the beginning, like the first 5 days and the last 5 days. But then what happened to us was very different. It was very evenly at the first 40 days. So we were also a little surprised about that. So before we launch, we try to get a lot of people to sign up our website. So once we launch, they can receive the notification that they can back our product at first time. But then the conversion rate was really poor. It was like 0.08%. Yeah, it was horrible. Yeah, exactly. But then we started to practice to run ads in-house. So we spent about $80,000 on ads ourselves, and then got about 150,000 back on Kickstarter ads, on Kickstarter sales. And also, most of our sales came from Kickstarter, the platform directly, over 35% or 60%. So we noticed that if you can maintain your campaign at the top positions of the main page on Kickstarter, then you can easily get more people's attention. And then it's like a healthy cycle that it helps you to maintain the same important position, get enough people's attention, and you can sell more and more. And what happened here was, this is how important to pick up your launch time. So this is Thanksgiving. So we noticed once the holiday season started, our sales has a very dramatic drop from here. So those days were the holidays and no one is going to shop on Kickstarter. And also here, so we have a mini spec here. That was because we got featured on Kickstarter's Facebook page. That's why we got, and also these days. So they posted about us twice, and it was 2 Sundays. And also in the end, so also the magic the second half happened to us. So we got a lot of sales in the last 5 days. Actually, in the last 3 days, we sold $500,000. So part of the reason was because we got enough media exposed before, like The Verge, TechCrunch. Also by then we got Forbes that just posted a very good article about us. And also we worked with Jellop a little bit, and they helped us about get over 65% of the last 3 days sales. yeah, I think that's the most of our campaign.
Thank you. Alex? We don't have you. Bassam, so I asked Bassam to come and talk because he, to this date, has the most interesting strategy that I think I've ever seen Kickstarter do. Do you want to tell us a bit about what you did for your first Roadie?
Yeah, sure. So when we first launched our product, we were kind of new to the market. Like, we never released a product first. We had no idea how we're going to get guitarists specifically and musicians in general to come to Kickstarter. We didn't know whether they actually go to Kickstarter in the first place. So we wanted to find a way to get them, to bring them to our campaign. One of the ideas we came up with was to release an application early on, before we actually launched our product. That was, we're talking like in 2013. At that time, there was not a decent tuning application for guitars that was available on iOS that was for free. So we kind of developed that, and we launched it maybe 4 months before we launched our campaign, the application, and we tried to get as much publicity to it as possible, reviews and others. And so we've launched it for free, of course, and we've used also Facebook ads to drive traffic to the app. And then by the time we launched our campaign, we had around 10,000, I think, active users on the app that were using the app regularly. And so the first day of the campaign, we launched a notification that would actually tell them that this product is out, you can purchase it now. I can't remember the exact detailed numbers because that was in 2013, and 4 years ago. But I know it worked. At least we got, like, this is what got us like around $20,000 on the first day. And then, yeah, we kept on going since then.
So I find this fascinating. So basically, just so everyone's aware, so you looked at the market, you saw there were no decent apps, like the iPhone app, you created one, gave it away for free, had a load of promotion around it, then you had all these active users, and then you're like, oh, by the way, we're about to launch Kickstarter.
Exactly.
That's fucking genius.
And the app is still out there, by the way.
Sorry, that is genius. Absolute genius. We've tried to get other people to do that, and no one's really done Roadie.
The nice thing is that we use the same technology in our current application that works with the product, the original Roadie. So the technology was there. We only had to put the skinning on it and put it out there and do proper marketing for it. So we didn't really have to put a lot of extra effort. It was just very obvious for us. Yeah.
Obvious. Yeah.
Now, what happened? What happened in the second campaign? So the second campaign was launched a couple of months ago, and as you can see, on the first day we raised almost around $100,000. And the reason is because this is the main, I think, the main benefit of being in the market earlier and having a product in the first place for 3 years and having users that are using the product is that a lot of people are actually waiting for the second version. We built up, how do you say it, excitement around Roadie 2, and we told our original users that if they come early to the campaign, they're going to get the early bird discount. So they knew that they were waiting for it, basically. And on the day we launched, the first people that knew were actually our Roadie users.
We did the same thing, but it didn't.
We did the same thing, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, so actually most of the backers on the first few days were current old Roadie users that were excited about the campaign. And yeah, that basically brought us, gave us all the traffic all along. We got a lot of articles also featured on Engadget, for example.
What was this little spike over here?
So we got featured as Project of the Day on Kickstarter around this time, and also The Verge came out around this time. And yeah, and towards the end, we were continuously, almost always, actually like pushing notifications through our application that was already available. We did the same strategy, by the way, in here. So we launched, because we're launching 2 products almost. We're launching Roadie 2 and Roadie Bass for bass guitars. So we also released an application on iOS for tuning bass guitars, and we've used that also to drive traffic. So yeah, that helps a lot.
Very good. Okay, Alex. Sorry.
Yeah. So for us, we are the classic story that launch and see what happens.
We didn't prepare any email list. That makes Duncan really nervous. And I remember the first day of the launch, Duncan was really nervous. Yeah, but our strategy was, since we only have 2 people and both of us are engineering background, we were obsessed about the product. And after we launched, we actually spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to sell it and find our secret community, which you should have found before you launch it. But eventually, luckily, we did found it. Our graph has no particular shape. And this is...
How can that say?
I actually don't remember. I think it's just a really bad day. Yeah, I think it's the press from this day starts slowly wearing off, and nothing ever happened, and then you get to this low point. And now it's funny, but at that time it was we were really worried and nervous too. And then slowly from here, I remember we slowly find our secret community. We're a table tennis product, and at that time we were in the Bay Area. And before we before it came to HAX, we actually talked to a lot of coaches of table tennis. And one of them located in the Bay Area, and we find out he's the US Olympic coach to be. And he's super excited about our product, and from him, here, we fly to Vegas unplanned. We didn't know, like he just invited us to go to Vegas for US Nationals, and we go there, and then at the same time, we also reach out to some table tennis YouTubers, which have a lot of followers, try to learn table tennis by watching videos, which happen to be our perfect customer. And these spikes are generated by them. So we reach out to them and they believe in the vision. So, and then they give us this, which is as much as our press. We got quite a lot of press, and it went really well. Our press saved us at the very beginning. At the end, our secret community saved us. So that's just how important it is to find your community. And those were the super core group of people that we didn't know existed. We know they existed, we just don't know where they are. And then we eventually found them, so definitely learn from our story.
Okay, thank you. Okay, how much time have we got? We've got some time, right? Yeah, okay. So, all of these projects actually were launched on Kickstarter. It'd be interesting to get an idea from you guys. Obviously, Kickstarter is not the only platform to launch on. What were some of the decisions around which platform to go with? How did you decide on Kickstarter?
For us, we kind of just choose Kickstarter because all the alumni is on Kickstarter. So since I only have experience launching on Kickstarter, I can tell you that the Kickstarter backer we got are incredibly passionate. I think developing a product with passionate backers like that really helped us and motivated us throughout this entire journey. And I would strongly recommend any hardware product to launch a Kickstarter. Other than the money, the support you got is just amazing.
Good answer.
So I think Kickstarter has the best reputation as far as we know among all the crowdfunding platforms. They care about their backers, the culture of the website. It's not just about tech products like what we built, but also like culture, art, or design. So you can get a lot of different backers' attention, and also they are very careful about the prototype you're going to show on your campaign. And that matters if you can get project we love, it's a feature that can bring a lot of traffic. And also they need to test or verify the product you're going to launch is a product that you can produce. It's not just like a concept design. So I think all the stuff, they are very responsible for what they're doing, so we trust them.
Our toughest choice was actually for Roadie to decide whether we are going to launch a Kickstarter campaign or not launch a Kickstarter campaign.
You do it on your own side.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've already had our first product that launched there, and so for the second one we were wondering, because it's kind of like this, it's a different technology, but the concept is the same.
And then we eventually decided to do a Kickstarter campaign, which was obviously a wise choice to make.
Why? Not why was it wise, why did you decide to do the Kickstarter?
Because mainly of the community that's behind Kickstarter. Like we really feel we connected really well with our first Kickstarter backers. We built a really good relationship. We were very transparent. We were very honest with them, and they were very supportive. Like all along, even when there were delays, there were some issues. Like we can go through our comments and everything. Like a lot of support has come out of them. So we felt like we kind of needed this time also. We kind of need like this community also around our product. So it was an obvious choice for us to do it. We were worried we were not going to make it. We had a huge worry that people are going to be like, these people don't need money anymore. Like they've been selling their first product for 3 years. Like why would they do another campaign? But yeah, that worked for us eventually.
The honest truth is that we make headphones, and headphones are like crack on Kickstarter. So the crowd just wants that. I don't understand it really, because I'm assuming by now that every Kickstarter backer owns 17 pairs of headphones.
We haven't got them yet, that's the problem.
Let's see, we're working on it, we're working on it. But what's nice about Kickstarter is that we inherently have a very complex technology behind our product. So for example, I've pitched it to all of you, and I guarantee 90% of you still don't know what we make. Which is an interesting problem, right? Where if you run your own website, you have about 10 seconds to convince people that it's worth it before they're like, yeah, we're gone, and then they command W and you're gone. On Kickstarter, we had the equivalent of about 20 pages of content where most people would actually scroll down. So we had the amount of time to put both, wow, we're an awesome headphone, and we have brain tech, and we help your concentration. And then to have the person think, wait, no, now I'm confused, I don't know how all those three fit together, and then convince them that it was worth it. So having Kickstarter as a platform, it's a place where everybody is thoroughly invested in wanting to know what the project's all about and how it's going to be brought to life, to the point where we can appeal to the audience in that way with complex technology, with a complex product, and still have them be interested. So the market was just ready for that.
Great. Okay, last question, and then I'm going to turn it over to the audience, and then we can get off the really uncomfortable concrete seats. Alex, what would you do better or differently if you did it again? Apart from engage with the community first.
Apart from engage with the community first, how would I do better? That is the thing though. I would do a lot of research on finding that one point that people buy the reason why people buy your product. It sounds very, you test your messaging. It sounds really simple, but for every product, there's at least 5 ways to describe it. And to properly test that, you can test that on Facebook or on any of your channels before you launch. We didn't do any of that. I remember when we were making the video, we spent a lot of time on the script, and we tried a lot of different ways that we imagine why people buy. And since we didn't do any testing, eventually we went back to our roots on why we really asked ourselves deep why we built the robot. Because during the way you build the robot, you have a lot of new reasons for new features that you build on. But at the very first beginning, we built the product because we couldn't find this perfect partner that just play at your level. If you play someone that's too good, you feel like you lose all the time, you don't feel happy. If you play with someone that's too weak, you feel bad because you keep winning and they keep losing. It's like you're torturing them. So we reached out to that messaging, and that sort of helped us continue with our campaign. So messaging is definitely what I would do.
Okay, so define your core value proposition. Yeah, okay, Tiantian?
So if we can do it again, I probably will pick a better time. So once when we launched, day 2 was the time that Microsoft just launched their new laptop. So all the tech journalists, they went to their news release conference. And there was a journalist from Engadget who was supposed to write an article about us. We cannot reach him because he was there and did a live report of Microsoft's new product. And also we caught up with the Thanksgiving time, so no one was really interested in shopping. And also we're getting close to Christmas. And during Christmas, I mean, when people are trying to buy Christmas gift, they want something they can get, the physical product, instantly. They don't want to do pre-orders for next year Christmas. So we also lost some orders because of that. So if we can do the campaign again, we probably will be more careful about. We even also the U.S. president election also happened in the middle of our campaign. So we probably will pick a better time if we can launch it again. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Timing, value proposition, timing.
Yeah. One of the things that I highly regret, not regret, but like I wish we haven't done or done differently, was that we worked a lot and really hard on some features that literally no one uses.
Value proposition, testing your messaging.
Yes. So we spent literally 1 full year developing a lot of the stuff that we eventually didn't need. And this is why with the second version of the product, we knew exactly what we were looking for. We knew exactly what the customers are looking for also, and that we kind of focused our attention on that. So I would say like, I feel this needs more experience and like mentorship than anything else, but yeah, try to focus on exactly what your customers want, build focus groups, get feedback before you launch the campaign.
For ours, I think a lot of the campaign kind of centered around the problem that I iterated before, which is that the technology is complex and you have about 10 seconds to convince someone that not only it's valuable, but they want it and it's going to help them. So we focused on making sure the campaign page's flow was spot on and that all the information got to the user in the right order, in the right way. What we didn't focus on was everything that was non-campaign page. So we could have had more content, blogging, videos, interviews with experts, a lot of other kind of flow around the campaign page to position ourselves as being experts in the industry that we started doing later on when we had some more time. So mid-campaign, we decided, wow, people are asking a lot of questions like, what is EEG? Regardless of the fact that our entire freaking page is about what is EEG. So by then we realized that we started creating the content and it put a lot of our backers at ease. So I think having that pre-prepared, where we could just point to say, and yeah, by the way, we wrote this article that got featured 2 months ago, and that was us, would give us that credibility so that people stopped asking those questions and conversion rates were much higher.
What about link for the campaign?
That's your thought, not mine. I didn't want to spend another 30 days answering comments.
Okay, questions anyone?
I got a comment. All right, so the three of the no, this is really valuable. 3 of the 4 people who are sitting up there, who made your video? Anthony Blee. Yeah, do a pitch. Yeah, there you go. So Anthony is the man. All right, if there you go. I'm the point of contact. I'll give you his email.
One of Anthony's friends.
Yeah, and then if you're just Chen do your video, then there's the Russian genius Vitaly. So just letting you know. All right, I'm here.
Video is very important.
Yes, there you go.
Do you have a question?
No. Just a plug. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Yes.
Hi, I'm Wendy. I'm a freelance tech reporter. My clients are mostly mass media. I want to play devil's advocate here. I understand that the event tonight is about crowdfunding, Kickstarter, and all that.
Thank you. What if crowdfunding, I mean, it sounds like a lot of your success is based on, because Kickstarter is already a very mature platform, with a lot of audience in there already.
Criteria during the campaign to make sure that you get the U-shaped curve. And I think that generalizes to other mediums. If you were to do your own, let's say, campaign on your own website, that's still going to be true. But the way you're going to be addressing that is going to be different, and that your audience is different. So we had, I spent some time kind of talking to a lot of my friends who are launching Kickstarters as well. And one of the main things is, for example, Kickstarter is 80% male. If you're launching a product that is geared towards females, Kickstarter is kind of not the place to be doing that. And you still want to be doing those same tricks. You still want to have the video. You still want to have like really good explanation of your product on the page. You want to be getting media. You want to be treating it as a proper marketing launch. But it's just not as obvious because you don't have a page to be putting it on. And I think that makes it more difficult to attract attention which means you have to be doing a lot more external push. We were able to do a lot of that through Facebook advertisements because our audience tends to be primarily on Facebook. I think that you're going to have to kind of find where your audience is going to be and pinpoint that really specifically, very much like Wazer did, where I presume they're not getting most of their audience through Facebook ads. Once you can nail that down, the rest of the funnel, I think, is pretty parallel.
So maybe I could answer this question, actually. So I launched a hardware company before crowdfunding even existed, which shows my age a little bit. And essentially, you just answered the question. Basically, you do your own online web sales, right? Okay, yeah, fine. It's kind of like a Kickstarter campaign. But what do you do before that? Or what do you do if you're not going to do that? And really what you've got to do is convince someone, or convince a lot of people to buy something which isn't ready yet. And one way to do that is to do an exclusive with a retailer. So turn around to a retailer and be like, hey, I've got this great product. I'm going to give you it for 6 months as an exclusive if you order 5,000 units. That is one way to do it, but it's tricky, very tricky.
We kind of also did that after our Kickstarter. Like you get to a point where you spend all the money, crowdfunding money on the production, everything, and the tooling, and getting the product to shipping the product, and eventually we had no money left. So we had to think about ways where we can actually fund our next round of production. So we did that. We talked with one of the distributors. We gave them an exclusive deal for 1 year in Europe, not in Europe, particular areas in Europe. And in return, they would prepay us our, the cost of the units pre-ordered. So that works pretty well.
It's an interesting question though, because crowdfunding and Kickstarter in particular has enabled a whole new breed of startups to emerge and basically get off the ground, get a kickstart, which was previously impossible. So it's actually a complete game changer in the whole hardware world. Okay, does anyone else have any answers or any questions? Any last questions?
Maybe the question has been asked before, but maybe I would like to ask for campaign owner. With the money you fund, how much you spend on sales and PR and marketing?
As a percentage?
As a percentage.
Okay. It's a very quick one to answer. Go on, Alex.
I think less than 10%? Around 10%.
Sorry, the question was during Kickstarter, after.
What percentage of the Kickstarter fund, or the Kickstarter campaign, was spent on PR and marketing?
To the masters.
So all the costs, including the video.
No, just the marketing.
Just the marketing. I would say 15%.
15.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd probably be somewhere between 15 and 20.
Okay. 10 to 20 would be my guess.
Actually, it's like less than 10.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's what when I was talking earlier about the fact that you see that kind of natural state of how successful really is this product, and that's definitely an example there. You didn't need to spend much money and you had that successful rate the whole time. There's another question over there.
So it's just a question for the co-founders.
So not me.
But how did you, before the Kickstarter campaign, how did you get enough funding to actually get your prototype to work?
By eating ramen every day.
We joined HAX and HAX gave us the funding.
We only have 30K when we launched the campaign, and we use all the money to work on the campaign, like pay our videographer and self-funded a little bit. So yeah, that's how we did it.
Yeah, before we joined HAX, we were still working. Like working on our startup was very part-time. We do it like 2-3 hours per day, and then we joined HAX, and that gave us the push also to get our prototypes ready, everything ready, our video for Kickstarter.
We had no money during the campaign. We were like very much in the negatives. So we like launched the campaign with kind of enough, and then started spending money, and then got into the no way in hell enough, and then knowing that you're going to have money is a great way to be able to convince people to take credit.
Okay, last question. If not, I'm going to wrap this up. Where was one? Okay, yeah, over there.
decide the amount of your you try to cover costs?
The goal?
Yeah. Like
Yeah. How do you decide the goal? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So we calculate enough money to cover tooling and all the developing, like your food you need to eat, the rent, all the developing costs after the campaign till you ship, and that's how we justify how much we need on Kickstarter.
Are you afraid that if you set it too high, then you may not get fully funded, and then maybe try to go a little bit lower so that you will get basically the campaign fully funded? Was that part of your decision?
Yeah, that's part of it, and you have to decide what amount to put. But in your heart, like you know exactly how much you need, and you just make sure that you hit that amount to take the money. Otherwise, you have to maybe get it from investors or somewhere else. So every company will probably have a different situation. But just make sure you have enough, very baseline.
Just to make sure we go really quickly on this one. So, what was your goal? How did you decide? Like in just 2 sentences.
Yes, so our goal was without raising money from VC, we can ship the product. And our initial goal was around 500K for that product, and we decided if we cannot pass that goal, we will kill the campaign for sure. Yeah.
Our goal was 50K, and I believe there's a difference between a company that's bootstrap and a company that already has funding. Like if you already have an investment, you can put the goal to be 10K. But if you don't have investment, put the goal to be 10K. Like there's a high risk involved in the thing. So we put our goal to be 50K, which is the minimum required for us to actually go into production. And if we raise like 40K or 49K, then we would know that something is at core is wrong with this product. Like we have to change something, we have to change maybe the features, or we have to change our campaign, everything. So yeah.
Yeah, we had like an internal goal and an external goal. The internal goal was what we knew we would require to ship the product properly, so for our first full production run. The external goal was what we actually posted on Kickstarter, and we basically just tried to time something that would let us hit it in the first day, because that makes your product just feel more successful to people.
What was it?
Externally, it was 100K.
All right. Okay. Well, I'd like to say thank you very much to the. Coming down. Ben, I think you just wanted to wrap up quickly.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for your patience. We're vastly over time. You're probably, some of you may be very hungry, like maybe they're already stuck in concrete and everything. Just a quick notice, we actually have a campaign that just went live on Kickstarter for a fantastic 360 camera that does 360 sound. It's a project called Sonicam, Sonicam, S-O-N-I-C-A-M. It's a very small gadget, you know, $2,000–3,000. But that can really make your life fantastic, because it can record 360 sound and 360 videos. So check it out, back them, and spread the word. So thank you very much, and we'll have probably another half hour or more. Thank you.